How are we doing, everybody? I love the way Dawn Wolfington, legend, just decided she would jump onto all 3 platforms for me to check the video feed out. Dawn, thank you very much. She says it is working fine on Facebook, Twitter, and on Periscope. Thank you very much for that. It's Wednesday evening, guys, or if you're listening on the audio experience, it could be any time. If you are on the audio experience, come and watch one of these live next time. Just go to facebook.com/actonthisTV, and you can join us live, 9 p.m, Monday night, Wednesday night. It's Wednesday night tonight, which means it's time for the Acts on This TV book club. And I was just saying before I jumped on camera, actually, like the chapter of this book we're going to read tonight. If you remember from last week, we're looking at Lewis Howe's brand new book. It doesn't come out for 6 days. It's out on the 31st. Lewis was kind enough to send me an early copy. It's called The Mask of Masculinity. Don't let the title put you off if you're a woman, because this is really, really relevant to everybody. And the reason I chose this book for the book club is because as actors, we wear masks every single day when we're employed as an actor. And very, very, I don't know, it's actually really like very, very few times where we're not wearing a mask. But people don't really kind of acknowledge that they're wearing a mask when they're not on stage or they're not on a TV set. So I want to make us all a little bit more self-aware. And the mask that we're going to look at tonight in this book, I know, I could kick myself a little bit because you know when you know all this shit, right? But still you go into a situation and like, there was a situation literally I've been in the last few days where I was like, man, like, I was feeling vulnerable in that situation, and rather than actually just acknowledge that vulnerability, I definitely put the Joker mask on, and it screwed up a situation. Won't go too much into it, but I'm like, even when you know this stuff, you can't. Sometimes you're just fallible, aren't you? We're just human beings. So hopefully, I know everyone on here tonight is gonna have been in a situation before as well, but hopefully this is going to give us some self-awareness so that when you are in a situation, you recognise you're doing that. You can actually just pull the mask off, because a lot of the time, the mask that Lewis talks about in the book, there's a time and a place for them, but 9 times out of 10, it's better just to rip it off and just not have it and just be yourself. But even when you know that, it's quite difficult, so hopefully we're all going to get better at it. What's people saying on Facebook? Gary's here. All right, Gary, good to see you. Yeah, iOS 11 on my phone was playing up, man. Honestly, literally, even the last 2 days, I've updated iOS 11 on my phone twice, like to different point versions. And one time, my whole phone just went white. The whole screen just went white and didn't do anything. And today, I've been unable to make calls or receive calls. Well, I've been able to make them, but I can't hear anything through the phone. Utterly pointless. I've just done another update, and I think everything is good. It looks like it is. You can see it on the camera there. It is working. So fingers crossed it'll stay all right for this broadcast. Anyone got any news to report before we dive into this? As I say, Lewis Howe's brand new book. You can pre-order it on Amazon. I don't know how much it's going to be, to be honest with you, because he just sent me a copy. But the last book he did, School of Greatness, was a great book. It's only about 10, 15 quid. It's a really, really good book. Lewis is a top guy. Make sure you listen to Lewis's podcast. It's called The School of Greatness. You can download it for free on iTunes or Stitcher. Really, really good guy. Interviews some incredible people from all walks of life, and really just reverse engineers how they have had success. I can see Steve's on here already today playing the Joker mask, and that's a perfect cue to dive into this, Steve, because this is so relevant to you, man. It's relevant to all of us, but I just thought when I saw this, particularly you. So the Joker mask. It starts off with a quote, really, really cool quote, and I would appreciate you retweeting this so people can hear this quote. If you give it a retweet now or share it on Facebook, massively appreciate that. But listen to this. Humour can be used as a mask that shields both the wearer and those around him from the pain underneath. It's pretty deep, but isn't it true? You know someone in your life, or you are that person who will mask pain that you are going through in whatever form that is via this mask of humour. Definitely. I've recognised it in myself literally like this week. I've seen it in myself, right? And I'm very fortunate I don't have a load of pain in my life, but whenever I get in a situation sometimes where I'm like, oh God, right, this could be a little bit vulnerable right now, or maybe this is a situation where I can face rejection on a personal level. That for me is a time where it's just like literally almost automatic. Boom, goes on. There you go. Put a few jokes in. Keep someone at arm's length. It's bullshit, and I know I shouldn't do it. I've just got to get better at doing that. But yeah, humour can be used as a mask that shields both the wearer and those around him from the pain underneath. Great to know if you're playing a character in a play or a TV show who does this as well, because you can use this as a little dynamic for your character. So Lewis starts off, he goes, look, I've interviewed a lot of people for my podcast. Like I said, he's got a great podcast. And I've come to expect that I will be asked some version of this question. If you could sit down with anyone, dead or alive, and ask them any question, who would it be? People have asked me this question because I interview people as well. I can think of a few names, Lewis says, and high on that list would be Robin Williams. Give me some hearts on Periscope or some yeses on Facebook if you love Robin Williams. Was there anyone in the world who didn't love Robin Williams? Also, Robbie Williams is good as well, but we're talking about Robin Williams tonight, the comedian. Incredible comedian, and also a great dramatic actor as well. What an absolute ledge, the way he could go from, like, you know, Mrs. Doubtfire into really serious stuff as well. Like, really, really top actor. He says, there's a lot I'd like to ask him. I'd like to ask him how someone can do so much in one lifetime. How can you win Oscars, Emmys, and Grammys? How do you go from a life in a stand-up comedy, to a life on the silver screen? How do you do movies that are hilariously funny and then switch it up to do dramas that stir the heart? What was it like making Mrs. Doubtfire? I'd ask, how did you go from being this shy, quiet kid to becoming an international sensation, someone who changed the game of comedy forever? Steve said he'd love to do something like Mrs. Doubtfire. Topping it. Got to be good at drama in order to play true comedy, says Andy. Interesting. Bobby's joined as well. Bobby, hope you're feeling better, man. Come and join on this. Let's get you in a good place. So yeah, he says, but then the conversation would have to turn serious. I'd want to ask him about his masks, his pain, the difficulties he faced in achieving as much as he did. Because Robin Williams achieved a shitload, didn't he? Let's be honest. If he's like most of my guests, he'll have his share of those, but then he'd probably have a bit more, given the scale of his success and the stages on which he lived his life. And my guess is that no matter how hard I tried to pry, I wouldn't be able to make much progress. Robin Williams was a professional, and I bet he'd be able to answer without letting the Joker mask slip even a little bit. And that's what, I mean, come on, that's what must have happened. Because 13, if you look at Robin Williams, I wrote an article on this, look at Robin Williams' Twitter feed. 13 days before Robin killed himself, he put like a tweet out that was like, I'm sure it was about starring in Nightmare at the Museum 2, and he's putting this tweet out with a big smiley profile picture going, I'm going to be starring in Nightmare at the Museum 2 with Ricky Gervais and Ben Stiller and all these great actors. His competition will be looking at him going, man, you've got it all. Like, I wish I could be like that. 13 days later, he killed himself. So that's a guy who can put on this Joker mask and wear it so well so that nobody around him is aware of the pain that he's going through, because to everybody else, he's just like, yep, Robin's cool, or whatever. Yes, he struggled. We know he had struggles with various substances. But on the whole, I don't think anybody would have thought, oh, yeah, there's a guy, like, you know, teetering on suicide. So Louis says, look, I don't remember where I was when I heard the news in the fall of 2014 that Robin Williams had committed suicide. The world's heart was heavy, and so was mine. Even President Obama had this to say. President Obama said, he was one of a kind. He arrived in our lives as an alien, but he ended up touching every element of the human spirit. Remembrances poured in from around the world. His daughter said that the world is forever a little darker, less colourful, and less full of laughter in his absence, and she was right. The whole tragic end calls to mind a point that writer Zara Barry made in an essay she wrote exploring the connection between darkness and humour. And this is what I think is really interesting. She says, the effects of making another person laugh are reminiscent of a fast-acting drug. You feel instantly better, and the results are addictive. Sad people make careers of making us laugh. Karen Allen, good evening. Hope you're good. Just joined on Facebook. So I'll read that again. The effects of making another person laugh are reminiscent of a fast-acting drug. You feel instantly better, and the results are addictive. Sad people make careers out of making us laugh. And I'm going to read a little bit more into this chapter where there's been studies done on this with some of the biggest comedians in the world. There's definitely a bit of a link here. It says, for the better part of his career, Robin Williams struggled with addiction to cocaine and alcohol. When a close friend died of an overdose, Williams briefly cleaned up his act. He took to cycling, something that he said saved his life, but it was a solitary pursuit, a kind of symbol that revealed he wanted to be on his own, on a bike, pedalling away. I didn't know Robin Williams, and even though I I know people like him. I can't begin to imagine the pain he must have been going through when he took his own life. I imagine that most of those around him were so shocked when it happened. He may not have shared the parts of himself that were most deeply in pain and most in need of help. He preferred instead to focus on others and take away their pain by doing what he did best, playing the part of the Joker, the part that had made his life what it was. In the wake of his death, every news show, talk show, and interview show spent at least half of one episode remembering and eulogising Robin Williams. Maybe they asked their previous scheduled guests if they had any Robin stories, or they'd invite on someone who knew Robin was an old friend, a great friend, people like Bobcat Goldthwait or Billy Crystal, to share some insight and help audiences make sense of the tragedy. In nearly every case, it seemed no matter who it was, they had a story about a time on a set or backstage after a comedy show when Robin had everyone in stitches, breaking whatever tension or anger may have been present by riffing on the entire room, sometimes for 20, 30 minutes until people were dying with laughter instead of crying with frustration. On the set, this is amazing, listen to this, on the set of Schindler's List, he'd call Steven Spielberg to lighten the mood and lift his spirit as the heaviness of that true story started to take its toll on the director. So just, ring Spielberg up and go, listen, mate, this is a heavy story you're doing here. I'll chat to you for a bit, lift you up. After his friend Christopher Reeve, a.k.a. Superman, was paralysed in a horse riding accident, Robin snuck into his hospital room the day before Reeve's first corrective surgery, disguised as a doctor with a Russian accent, and announced that he was ready to proceed with Reeve's rectal examination. Ridiculous. Robin regularly spent time at St. Jude's Children's Hospital, entertaining the kids and the staff for as long as it took to make everyone laugh. But it's the story that Minnie Driver tells about the famous park scene in Good Will Hunting that sticks out to me, says Lewis. In the scene, Robin and Matt Damon are seated on a bench in Boston Common. Ironically enough, the scene starts with young Will Hunting cracking jokes about the quiet serenity of their location, clearly uncomfortable with the intimate moment. The jokes set the opening tone of the scene and make up pretty much all of Matt Damon's lines. The rest belong to Robin Williams in a 4-minute speech about love and loss and vulnerability that is sad, moving, heartbreaking, and insightful all at the same time. It's the scene that won him the Oscar for Best Supporting Actor that year. We know now that the speech probably spoke to a lot of the issues Robin struggled with over his life. But what Minnie Driver said, his co-star and fellow Oscar nominee, what she remembers is that around lunchtime, as people came to the park to eat, word spread around that Robin Williams was down in the Common filming a movie. He did this amazing impromptu stand-up routine, she said, to all people eating their sandwiches on the Common, and people were coming out of the buildings because they heard he was doing this. Driver told an interview back in 2014, at the end of lunch, there were about 300 people. He was a good man. To me, Robin Williams epitomises a man who wears the Joker mask, and stories like the one Minnie Driver tells reveal the essence of such a man who tries to deflect pain, his pain or others, with humour or sarcasm. Not many people want to feel the pain they feel all connect with the trauma they're facing in their lives, be it relationships, death, insecurity, losing a job, or not feeling worthy of love. It's hard for people to look at that and be okay with themselves, so they deflect. Men who wear their mask deflect this pain with humour so they never have to feel it. The opposite of pain is pleasure or joy, and that's the thing they want to focus on most. The other, the thing they don't have, so they want to focus on pleasure, the thing they don't have. Many people do this, of course. Most guys do this at one time or another. It's a pretty effective defensive mechanism for a while, but when it becomes pervasive and dominant, then it's more than a mechanism, it's a mask. In Robin Williams' case, you could argue that with his growing depression, it's a mask that extended his life for several years. I'd never fault him for that. I'd never judge him or question his choices. You do what you have to do to survive. It's just a shame that we are so bad at equipping the men in our culture with the tools they need to deal with this pain in the first place. I think it's just everyone as well. I don't necessarily think it's men, but there is definitely way more pressure on blokes. This whole manning up bullshit, basically, there just definitely is. I feel that myself. Gary says, yeah, like writing comedy screenplays and plays more truer to life. My plays are quite dark, says Gary. But that's what they said. The connection, though, isn't there? The connection between humour and darkness, though, is there as well, Gary. Interesting, man. I want to read some. I've still got your memoir to read in my inbox. So Lewis says, let's carry on with this. Lewis says, I've put up my fair share of fronts in my life myself. I have a long history of focusing on fun over pain. And as a kid, I was always trying to be the fun, goofy guy who was outrageous in photos, anything to bring light to the moment. One reason I did this was because I didn't think I could contribute intelligence. So instead, I just brought humour, especially around my family. And even now, when things aren't going great and someone asks me how things are, my instinctive response is good, but tell me how you're doing. Like many people, I want to avoid being the dark cloud in other people's lives. So I pretend things are sunny, even when they're obviously not. So I keep things light or at surface level. I want to talk about other people. I want to focus on other people's challenges because focusing on my own feels more vulnerable. And then there's a quote here, like from. Does anyone know who JP Sears is? It's a really funny take the mick of like personal development guy. You'll know him. He's the long ginger haired guy with the flower headband on. You might have seen him on Facebook or Instagram. He's hilarious. He does loads of parodies of personal development stuff. Give me some hearts or some yeses if you know who he is, because he said something here which is quite, really, really relevant to this, that Lewis has quoted in his book. I don't know if anybody knows him. You should definitely look up JP Sears. You will piss yourself with laughter. It is very, very good. But so Lewis says, one of the most popular comedic personalities online, currently with more than 100 million views of his hilarious satirical videos, is my spirit animal, JP Sears. You probably you probably recognise his red long hair and flower headband. In my interview with him, between cracking jokes, we got serious about why he learned to use humour. And he told me this. He says, my sense of humour developed because it helped me compensate for my pain. If I felt insignificant inside, which I did during my childhood, I learned if I could make someone laugh, it feels like they value me. And if they value me, then it means I'm significant. And if I'm significant because I just made them laugh, then I don't feel the sense of insignificance that I'm relentlessly trying to escape from. I became addicted to making people laugh. It was my survival strategy. The good thing about that was it helped train me to become a black belt of comedy. He's very, very good. But again, like it comes from a dark place, you know. That's where his comedy came from. It was a survival thing. So beneath the jokes is often a sadness or some problem. Behind the mask, no matter how funny or entertaining, is a real person. Psychologist Edward Dreyfus put it this way, more directly. People we should listen more attentively to are those who hide behind the mask of humour. Perhaps we should be asking them, to whom do they turn to make them laugh? Perhaps we should spend a little more effort in seeing the person behind the mask. If we had listened to what Robin Williams was saying behind his mask, I wonder what we would have heard. I don't know what we would have heard, but it would have been interesting, wouldn't it? And again, it's just something we're just never going to get a chance to ask. I think Carly's saying something about the connection on Periscope. Get yourself over to Facebook, Carly, facebook.com/actsonthistv. If you get a dodgy connection, try over on Facebook. How's the connection on Facebook, guys? Is it all right? Seems to be all right, and I'm watching it on my phone. It seems to be pretty good. I hope, anyway. So let's have a look. I wanted to go on to... I'm going to skip a little bit of this chapter here because I want to go on to some practical stuff and get your opinions. I want to ask some questions, get your opinions on experiences you've had of this in your life or your career, or maybe you got someone in your family or your boyfriend or your girlfriend does this. And you're like, you know what, for once, I just wish you would just take that mask off and just take things a little bit more seriously. But now you might understand a little bit more about why they're doing that. And again, like I say, with characters and stuff, you can use this in your work as an actor. It's why I love Meisner classes, says Mary. The guys give a lot of depth, no macho stuff, just truth. Yeah, honestly, that's what people need. Just like more vulnerability. Definitely check over on Facebook though, Carly, just in case it isn't your connection. Let's have it. John says, I got laughed at instead of laughed with. I really relate to what you say, though. Yes, has anyone ever tried stand-up comedy? I would love to try it, but I've never. Again, that's maybe I just need to be a bit braver. I need to write a set and just do some. Because I just say stupid things without even meaning to. That's it. My whole life's a comedy, really. Humour becomes the ultimate mask, one that gets you what you've always wanted, and that's acceptance for being the opposite of who you've always been, and that might be different. Not surprisingly, this detachment from the emotions and the identity hidden behind the mask can have profound effects on relationships, on professional life, and on overall happiness. The Joker mask can also prevent you from finding answers to questions that have tormented you all your life because you lack the tools to be serious for long enough to ask them directly. Stand-up comedians often make very good actors, says Gary. Timing, Gary. Everything in it. So let's have a little look further. There was this quote that I found really interesting in later in the chapter. It said, "Humour becomes a way of building barriers between us and the world around us. At first, it feels like protection, but over time, it becomes isolation, and we end up living on an emotional island." Very interesting. Humour becomes a way of building barriers between us and the world around us. At first, it feels like protection, but over time, it becomes isolation, and we end up living on an emotional island. Deep but profound. I think that's probably very, very true for a lot of people. Let's have a look. Where did I want to read from? I've marked this up now with pen. This is interesting, right? So in the 1980s, a pair of psychotherapists called Seymour and Rhoda Fisher dove deeply into this matter between basically comedians and hiding behind this mask, or comic actors hiding behind this mask, or just, even if you're not an actor, if you're just one of these clowns, I mean that in a nice way, they were looking at the connection between that and like a really deep underlying pain or issue that really should be dealt with in a better way. So your comedy, you can still do comedy, but it just isn't actually, you're not going to be sad when you're not doing comedy, basically. So they figured that if comedians did have a psychological issue, there had to be a root. It couldn't just be a random thing. So they did exhaustive psychological profiling of 40 of the leading comedians at the time. This is fascinating, right? The result was a book. It was called Pretend the World is Funny and Forever. That reveals the total and complete chaos that characterized the home lives of so many comedians. Indifferent parents, alcoholism, absent fathers, violence in the home. It was a swirl that demanded some kind of defense mechanism. We would propose that a major motive of comedians in conjuring up funniness is to prove that they're not bad or repugnant. That's the word, isn't it? Repugnant. That's what they wrote. They're obsessed with defending their basic goodness. This research has led to some unexpected modern interventions. So there's a club called the Laugh Factory in Los Angeles, and it's inarguably one of the world's most famous comedy clubs. It's played host to every big name in the business and has given many of the biggest in the industry their start. The owner, a guy called Jamie Masada, is like a comic kingmaker. Some even call him the comedy godfather. He's a close personal friend with the likes of Dave Chappelle and regularly dispenses advice to both the titans of the industry and the folks just getting their start. But he was growing increasingly concerned about the mental state of many of these people he had put on stage. He counted Richard Pryor and John Belushi as friends, for instance, before they both gave themselves over to self-destruction. And he's seen too many comics come through his doors carrying private demons the size of giants. After the death of Pryor and many of his friends, he decided to do something about it. This is what he said. He said, "From Richard Jeni putting a gun in his mouth and blowing himself up in 2007, to Greg Giraldo taking drugs and overdosing in 2010, I just can't stand to watch all of my family, one by one, self-destruct." That's what he told the Los Angeles Times. And these are people who are like seriously famous, wealthy, adored, still completely screwed up. So in the least likely place in the world, this is what Masada did, right? A comedy club. Masada inaugurated a 4-night-a-week therapy program. The appointments were free, and 2 clinical psychologists were brought in to help. One of these psychologists noted that too many comedians she sees are using the laughter and approval from the crowd as a salve for some serious wounds. Masada's blunt and clear about it. He told Slate magazine this: 80% of comedians come from a place of tragedy. They didn't get enough love. They have to overcome their problems by making people laugh. And Masada's numbers may be more anecdotal than accurate, but you don't have to live in a world of professional comedy to see the basic truth of his statement. It's not just that comedy can help people drown out their anxieties. It's also that comedy can be a tool to keep a certain distance from people. Think about it. And we all have one of these at school. The class clown was the guy everyone wanted to be around, but he was also the one who seemed somewhat on his own. It was a strange paradox. People flocked to him to make them laugh, but no one was going to him when they were in a rough spot. He was the friend who could make you cry laughing, but you couldn't call on him, or you wouldn't call on him, if you actually needed a shoulder to cry on. So I definitely had a guy in my class like that, and still to this day, I don't think he's really kind of dealt with that. He's still that kind of guy, and he's still on his own. He travels around a lot, but he's still on his own. I don't think he's figured out what's at the root of that. So Lewis says, let me be clear on something. The world needs more humour. It needs more laughter, more joy and positive expression. There's so much pain, suffering, fighting and miscommunication that cause these negative emotions, feelings and insecurities. So more than ever, we need joy and wholesome humour. There's nothing wrong with making jokes, making light of something, being playful with people. As long as it's not intended to hurt someone, there's nothing wrong with trying to be happy all day long, as what we're all striving for is to live happy, fulfilled, meaningful lives. But if you did a self-audit about your use of humour and sarcasm, what do you think it might reveal? Would it tell you that you're avoiding a conversation you need to have, or a tough emotional moment that you don't want to face? Would it tell you that you're deflecting or derailing? I can't know for sure, but I'd encourage you to see if there's something beneath the jokes. My guess, based on my own life, is that there is. And then in a minute, we're going to have a look at what we can do about this, right? So if you're like, actually, you know what? I find myself doing this more often than not. I have definitely found myself doing this. The lesson of the third MLP episode, don't prank anyone who won't see the funny side. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, well, definitely. It's definitely, I saw some punks back in the day that went wrong when people didn't see the funny side of that, when Aston Kutcher jumps out on them. Don't prank someone if you don't think they're going to get it. So let's just go over those things again, right? Are you getting this? Do people agree with this? Let me know. Just let me know. Because this is just Lewis's experience of life, but I agree with a lot of this, and I, like I say, have caught myself. Unfortunately, I think in this, definitely this situation in the last week, definitely have. It's called The Mask of Masculinity. So basically, in Lewis's book, he describes 9 masks that, in his experience, he's worn as a man over the years, that have really done him no favours, but he's worn them because society has dictated to us what a man is, and that a man must be this, so a man must be stoic, athletic, a man must have material wealth. So the masks are stoic, athlete, material, sexual, aggressive, joker, invincible, know-it-all, and alpha. And these are all masks that we definitely wear. But for the ladies here, I'm sure you've worn many of these masks yourself, and you'll probably have exclusive ones that just females wear, from time to time. But even if you you don't wear one of these masks yourself, knowing that the guy or guys in your life might be or are wearing these right now will help you kind of see through them and maybe help them take them off. It fascinates me because, like I say, as actors, we wear masks all the time as characters, but we never really acknowledge what we're wearing when we're not on stage. And I've definitely seen myself do this because I'd like to be the funny guy sometimes, and I'll be put in an awkward situation sometimes, and I'll be like, I'll just completely default to comedy. Go, right, that'll get me out of it. If I don't want, if there's somewhere where I could be rejected, or there's a point of I don't know, just uncertainty that I can't control, I go, actually, you know what? Let's just make everybody laugh. It's that'll be fine. It's like when it goes all quiet in a lift. I have this thing where I can't stand silence in a taxi or in a lift. If the lift's just stuck, or not stuck, stuck, but it's taking ages for the doors to close and everyone's silent, I have to break that silence rather than just sitting with that moment and letting it happen, which I just should do. So often I'll be the guy who cracks some kind of joke or pretends to fart, or I don't know, because I'm an idiot. I'm like, I shouldn't do that because this is just a defensive thing. Whereas actually just sit with the silence and just deal with that. I've definitely noticed myself doing that 100%. So yes, you've got to look at if you do a self-audit, what would it tell you? So if you find yourself doing this, Andy likes that silence, he says. If you find yourself doing this, or you are hiding, behind comedy a lot of the time, what would it tell you? Are you avoiding having conversations? Are you avoiding a tough emotional moment that you don't want to face? Would it tell you that you're deflecting or derailing a situation? And we're going to have a look now at what we can do about it right now. Is it a hiding behind anxious, nervous feelings? Yeah, I think so. There's definitely been occasions. God, there's been occasions on dates, man, where I'm and I'm, God, you can't shut me up. But if it gets sometimes in the early stage of dating, if it gets to the point where it's right, wait a minute, okay, this is actually kind of there's a silent moment here where the end of the night where it's like, oh my god, like what do I do? Right, is this girl like up for it or what? I don't mean like that. I mean, nothing too serious on the first night. But I'm like, oh god, like, oh, I'll just do comedy. Comedy will be fine. We'll just do some comedy here. So I do see myself, yeah. So it's definitely sometimes it depends on the situation you're in. But I've absolutely the one I relate to really mostly in this whole book is this one. It's why I've chosen to do it first. But silence, I don't like unless I'm going to sleep. Gary, like, turn that off. It's fine. My problem is I can't hide it. People think I'm so concerned what others think of the real them. What's that? Oh, I missed the first comment. I think, Mary. I think I missed that. Let's have a look. What can we do about it right now? Okay, having a sense of humour is not a bad thing, right? But there's a time and a place for everything. All right, and when you're using humour as an avoidance tool, it just becomes detrimental, right? And when you're using it to add fun and joy to a situation, then it works. So it depends if you're being authentic or not, all right? If you're one of the many men who struggle behind the Joker mask, knowing when you're doing one or the other is difficult at first, okay? However, if you're someone who is always joking, this is the key, right? So if you don't know if you do this or not, because it's quite hard to, to figure out. If you're like, you know what, sometimes I'm joking, sometimes I'm not. It's difficult to know if you're doing it for what reason. But if you are always joking, Lewis says here, however, if you are someone who is always joking, you can be virtually certain that you are one of those men who are always sad, always trying to avoid, and who use their sense of humour because they feel they have no sense of credibility. Nothing could be more detrimental to the achievement of extraordinary results that so often come with greater intimacy and authenticity. And he says, look, what's available when you drop this Joker mask, okay? Remember, Joker man, he says, you are a gift, Joker man. And there's so much to celebrate about you. The people who care about you the most have been waiting to see what's behind your mask. It's time to reveal the real you. These are some of the things that can flood back into your life when you drop this mask. And these things are deeper relationships, worthiness, richer experiences with other people, because you get to actually speak to them like on a level, as opposed to, having half a conversation and then it being deflected off in another direction with comedy. Acknowledgement of all your gifts, people taking you seriously, healing, connection, and feeling enough. And they're all amazing things. Dropping the Joker mask will help you have deeper relationships, worthiness, richer experiences with others, acknowledgement of all your gifts. People taking you seriously is a big one, particularly in the acting industry, I think. Healing, connection, and feeling enough. So give yourself permission. There's two instructions Lewis has here at the end of this chapter. One is for the men who are on this scope right now, or on this broadcast, depending on where you're watching it, or the audio experience. Shout out to you as well. And the other is for women. So men, Lewis is telling us to do this, and I'm going to do this, right? Give yourself permission to feel and connect, as not everything is a joke, okay? Give yourself permission to feel and connect, as not everything is a joke. There's a time to tell the truth and to be serious. Connect to the people who surround you, the environment, and the mood. So starting today, whenever you're in a social situation or in a serious conversation, stop yourself before you make that joke that's sitting on the tip of your tongue. Honestly, this is really relevant to me. Like, at times, I definitely have. At times, not always, but definitely have, like, I'll hear something in a conversation that I'll think, oh, that could have been taken the wrong way. And then I'll just want to say it. I'm like, no, don't say it. Just don't say it. So ask yourself, is it appropriate to be laughing in this moment? What information, factual or emotional, is being presented to me by the person or people around me? And what am I trying to avoid? Is it the truth I'm trying to avoid? The past that I'm trying to avoid? Pain or fear? If you're present and connected all the time, eventually you'll know. Be emotionally conscious in all moments. Bobby says sometimes he asks permission to make a joke. Just go, can I actually make a little joke about that? Well, that might work. Well, at least that's halfway there, Bobby. At least you're not just spouting it out. But I think that's really relevant. Sometimes, audit yourself. Just go, right, okay. is this the right thing to do right now? Am I doing this by just avoiding this slightly awkward moment? Going, is it the right time for this or that? And then women, right? Give me some hearts if you're a woman on this broadcast right now. If you're on Periscope, tap the screen. Let me know. They're flooding through. Women do this. The next time, so this is for the guys in your life, right? The next time he pulls on his Joker mask, stop him. Have a heart-to-heart with the man in your life who does this, and let him know how you feel when he turns everything into a joke. Don't get angry at him or make him feel wrong for his humour, otherwise you may push him away. Instead, let him know in a loving way how it affects his credibility, your desire for intimacy, or a future together. Share what you want from him in specific terms, because you may be the first person who gives him the language to describe the emotions and the pain that the Joker mask has been separating him from all these years. It's pretty powerful, that, isn't it? Share what you want from him in specific terms, because you may be the first person who gives him the language to describe the emotions and the pain that the Joker mask has been separating him from all these years. So that's the advice for men and the advice for women. And that's the end of the chapter on that mask. I mean, there's more in there that I could read. I just thought the parts that really stood out for me was the whole Robin Williams thing. The study that the psychologists found on the real pain behind the most famous comedians in the world. The correlation there. And then, the benefits, really, of just dropping it. John says, does anger come out in humour? I want to be taken seriously by people, but they use the humour weapon to stop people from getting taken seriously. So let's work that out, John. So I want to be taken seriously by people, but they use the humour weapon to stop people from getting taken seriously. So what do you mean? Is it other people around you make jokes to stop the person who you want to take you seriously from taking you seriously? Or how many people are in this situation, John? Is it you and one other, and they're not being serious? Because you'll definitely find that sometimes, because that'll be them. They'll be like, that's the awkwardness coming out in them. So it's at school. So absolutely. So I guess, oh god, I mean, there's a whole load of complex things going on there. Then, so if somebody's basically, you're trying to be taken seriously, and then other people are then taking the mick or are using humour, they will, what they'll do there is they will, okay, so if you're trying to do something good, John, this is what happens in most of the time. So if you want to be taken seriously, and you're going, listen, guys, right, I think this is a really great idea, and putting blah, 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 putting all this stuff across, you will be threatening the significance of other people in your class if you genuinely have a good idea. And then what they will do to win back significance is try and rob significance from you by making light of what you're saying, joking about what you're saying, and that's the way they get the significance back. It's why it's also the reason violence will always occur in the world. It's the fastest way to gain significance. If someone is outsmarting you, you're outsmarting somebody with intelligence, with wit, with language, whatever, and they're losing all their significance and they're feeling really insignificant, the fastest way for them to get that back is just to punch you in the face or pull a gun on you or a knife or something like that. Then people go from feeling completely insignificant to the most significant person on the planet. It's all coming from a really negative place in their lives, though, mate. So, and it is a control thing. So you say, a control thing. No, it is to keep people will use it to keep people under control. Definitely. But if that situation you're facing in whatever you're doing, man, you're doing something right if people are giving you that reaction, because you probably are threatening people's significance with your own success to a certain degree. That's what I would say. That's generally why people don't support other people, because they don't want people to win, because it'll threaten their own success or make them feel not as great about themselves as they should be feeling. They'll fulfill their significance need via a really negative way rather than a positive way, which is actually to go out and do something good. It's interesting, isn't it? God, schools are. How old are you, John? I didn't know you. What you at the moment? Let us know. It's fascinating. Like, educational environments are absolutely fascinating because everybody at that age, up to like the age of like 23, 24, are just vying for significance. Everyone on the planet is. So it's a really interesting one. Oh, okay, so you just so John's 31. So you're not a school. You just, what are you doing? Are you doing a drama thing? Are you doing a uni thing, or what are you doing, man? Or are you a teacher? Because kids will do that as well to teachers. Absolutely. Interesting. Let us know. But what do you think? I mean, do people agree with what Lewis is saying in the book? Have you found yourself doing this? Steve, what do you think on Periscope? Or where are you? Are you on Twitter or are you on Periscope? What do you think, man? Do you recognise yourself in that? Because I think it's interesting. Because you are the king of jokes, without a doubt. Steve literally comes to the Acts on This meetups, and within... I don't think I can get 3 sentences out, Steve, without you saying something funny. It's not bad though. It doesn't, it enhances the meetups, but I don't know what's behind it. If it's actually because that's the way that you've rolled all your life to to get approval, I guess. Caroline's back. She says she missed a bit. You can watch the replay though, Caroline. And Steve's back. Oh, Steve mustn't have been in. Maybe people are getting a dodgy connection on Periscope tonight because I keep seeing the numbers going up and down as people are rejoining. But you can always watch the replay, guys, on Facebook.com. If you're a teacher, you've brought it on yourself. So you're doing it again, Steve. You should be a teacher, Steve, setting examples for people. Definitely. But I just thought it was interesting. We've got to choose now. We've got another 8 masks to look at. We can only do 2 because we've got this book next week and the week after. Let's do a little vote on which other ones you want to have a look at. I think these are all really interesting for people anyone in performance. Human beings are all completely subject to wearing these masks, but I just think people in the acting industry or performers in general are just more prone to them, because there's a fine line between kind of work and life then, because if you're constantly wearing masks in work, I think sometimes people find it difficult to turn off, don't they? When I used to do plays at uni, and we'd rehearse a play for 6 weeks. Did one once. Played Leontes in The Winter's Tale, a Shakespeare play. Rehearsed it for 6 weeks, and in the play, Leontes is going mad. He thinks his wife is cheating on him, and she's not at all. But it's all in his head. And there's all these crazy scenes where he's going absolutely ballistic and jealous and all this kind of stuff. Honest to God, I'd come home from rehearsal sometimes so completely, utterly wiped out. I thought I was going mad myself. It was really genuinely difficult to take that mask off. To go, right, am I, is anyone here? I'm just getting paranoid myself in real life. Very, very weird, because when you're doing it for 12 hours a day for 6 weeks, it's difficult to come back to yourself sometimes. So I prefer women that joke, says Andy, less uptight. There's just always a time. Joking is not bad. That's not what Lucy's saying. There's just always a time and a place. It's at what point in your life you're joking at. And if in an audition, you're going in, and rather than actually, if you've got a script and you're being asked questions about it, but you're feeling a bit insecure or you're feeling a bit vulnerable, and you hide behind overcompensating. I've seen actors do this time and time again. They get really loud, and then they try and be really funny. And actually, the director's like, well, this is a drama. And actually was asking you a genuine question about what you felt about such and such a thing. And you're feeling, vulnerable, and you're actually just really overcompensating with comedy here. And you're putting on this mask. Like, I'm an actor. Look at me. I'm so loud. And I'm really, really, I'm a performer. And it's like, that's not really what we're looking for, to be honest. We're just looking for a normal person to play this role, really, because it's just a TV drama, and that's what we want. So it's interesting. I've seen actors fall foul of this. So then the other 8 masks, guys, are the stoic mask, the athlete mask, the material mask, which I think is a good one, where people get the significance through, going, right, I feel like shit if I don't have a fast car and a watch and loads of money in the bank. For guys, that's a thing that there's a lot of pressure in society on. But for women as well, just like I said, this is all for everybody. The sexual mask, the aggressive mask, the Joker mask we've looked at, the invincible mask, where it's like nothing can hurt me, I'm a guy. The know-it-all mask, to be so knowledgeable. or the alpha mask, like the alpha male. What about I don't know. Which you prefer? I think the material mask is quite a good one, particularly in the acting industry, because everybody thinks that as actors you're full of money and fame. Oh, you must be a millionaire. You're on telly. Don't think so, mate. Pay me £400 to do this. It's always interesting. But let me know what you think would be good ones. Sexual and aggressive could be one on its own. See, you're making a joke again, Stephen. He's done it again. Invincible Mask of Material, says Gary. I think they're good ones, mate, aren't they? So we've got two for the next 2 weeks. We could definitely do this. I think Material should definitely be one. The Know-It-All Mask, says Caroline, as well. Oof. So we got one for the Know-It-All Mask. We've got two for Material, one for Invincible. Next comment that comes up is going to be the one who gets it. Is it a Material one? Someone's got a comment. I keep seeing people lose connection on Periscope. Might be down to you Facebook guys. John Fist, let us know what you would prefer, man. I used humour in my German A-level exam. God, I did German A-level as well, mate. You needed humour in that, trust me. Is there an FU mask? Those that always appear that they don't care. That would probably be the Invincible mask, Andy, innit? That's the I don't give a shit, no one can hurt me kind of mask because I'm invincible. Or the Know-It-All mask. Paul, all right, Paul, didn't know you were on here. Good to see you. Dawn, going for the Know-It-All. Know-It-All. Oh, everyone's going for there's been a lot of votes for the Know-It-All. Should we do Know-It-All next week then? Do you reckon? Know-It-All and Invincible, very similar, I imagine. Oh, God, it's a tough one, isn't it? John's gone for Invincible as well. It's definitely Know-It-All or Invincible then. Or maybe they're just the two that we do. You know what? At the start of next week, I'm going to flick a coin for the... In fact, let's do it now. Let's do it now. I've not got a coin. Genuinely. I genuinely don't have a coin. There is an app you can get for your phone now where it flicks a bloody coin for you as well, isn't there? But I don't have one. Right, at the start of... Well, yeah, I'm going to flick a highlighter pen here. And if it lands right inside up, it's the first one, which is Invincible. And if it lands barcode side up, it's the other one. Know-It-All. You ready? Barcode side up. It's Know-It-All. Know-It-All. Boom. Or do a poll in the Facebook group. You can do a poll in the Facebook group if people aren't happy with Know-It-All. Because there's a few votes for Invincible. Oh, God, can you see that I am so indecisive? This is my issue. That's me just being a people pleaser right there, rather than making a decision and sticking with it. It's honestly, it's all falling apart. Those are the audio experience. Apologies you didn't get a chance to vote. But come and join live next time, and you will get a chance to vote on the last week. So that's the book, guys. Get it on Amazon. You can pre-order it. It comes out on the 31st of October. I probably will do a poll in the Facebook group, to be honest, Andy, because then it'll be nice and fair then. I don't feel like I'm just making an executive decision. Do one this week and the other the next, says Dawn. Well, there was three, though, Dawn. There was Invincible, Know-It-All, and Material. So... We've only got two. How's the phone case doing, Dawn? Dawn want a phone case that sticks to the wall so you can do self-tape videos by just sticking your phone on the wall. It took me 4 months to send it her, but I finally sent it her. Have you used it yet, Dawn? Is it any good? I haven't used it. I got two. I gave them both away as prizes. Should have just bloody kept one, shouldn't I? Too kind. But yeah. Thanks for being here, everybody. Appreciate that. I hope you find it useful. Really, it's just about, I think this book, for me, is just about getting self-awareness and having some conversations with yourself and going, actually, you know what? Am I recognising myself wearing any of these masks at any time? You know, do I ever have... you know what? I don't have to be the know-it-all, but I definitely have an issue sometimes of being wrong. Like... If I have my opinion on things, if it is an opinion, not facts. If it's a fact and I'm wrong, I'm totally like, I'll completely hold my hands up. I love being wrong if it's factual. But if it's an opinion, like me and my brother are talking about something, I can't stand like his opinion going, no, I'm right. No, I am definitely right. So maybe that's a little bit know-it-all or something. Don't know. Weird, isn't it? But I think it's all about self-awareness. The more self-awareness you can have in life, about when you are being authentic and when you are wearing a mask, just the better you're going to be, the more vulnerable you can be. And I think the more emotionally available you can be. That's the key. And as an actor, if you're not emotionally available, you're screwed. Because you've got to be in touch with your own emotions and understand your own emotions and when you're masking those, to be able to do that as a character and go, you know what, in this scene, my character's fucking broken. He's completely, utterly broken. But in this scene, he isn't showing any of that. And he's wearing this mask, and he's overcompensating, and he's using comedy, and really, you know, he really wants to tell this girl how he feels, but actually he's just going to use a load of comedy because he doesn't want to be vulnerable. It's fascinating. It's human behaviour. We all do it. We'll all go out tomorrow and put a mask on of some kind for a little bit of time during the day, maybe multiple masks. So it's becoming aware of those and then bringing that to your work. That's what I want to kind of focus on for myself. Anyway, that's what I get out of the book. But have a think. Hope it's been useful. It's nearly 10 o'clock, so I'll love you and leave you. Anyone need anything from me before we go? Anyone need any help with anything? Can I help you with anything at all? Acting related or not? Let me know as I begin to end this broadcast on here. Do let me know if there's anything you're like, oh, before you go, got an email address for such and such a body? Answer's probably yeah. If it's TV industry related. If it's not, then no. If you want the email address for the Queen, don't have that. Face mask day for me tomorrow, says Steve. That's a different kind of mask, Steve. You're more than entitled to put a face mask on. Keep your youthful looks. Gary says, do you have a contact at Rode? Yes, I do. I've got many contacts at Rode, Gary. Regarding what, mate? So Rode is a microphone company. You will notice on here, there's a little Rode sign. So Rode actually sponsor actsonthis.tv. So all the interviews that I do on actsonthis.tv with casting directors and actors and whatever, I use Rode equipment for those. But yeah, let us know. I mean, if you need to explain in better detail, Gary, just drop us an email, mate, ross@actsonthis.tv, and let me know what you're looking for, and I'll be able to point you in the right direction. You can definitely hit us up for that. That's no problem. And what's this, John? What you're saying? What's a scary place to be? And when you've not got the invincible mask on. Sponsorship possibility for charity I work for. They're a theatre company. It depends. Oh, sorry, that little bird pop out there. That was by accident. It would depend on what. For charity, I mean, I don't know. Maybe they'd just be really kind-hearted. Because normally, obviously, for sponsorship, they're going to go, right, okay, well, how can you kind of get us exposure and promote us? But if you think it's, there's an actual opportunity there, definitely, I would. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. The guy who runs their social media is the guy who I normally deal with. So I'll drop me an email, Gary, and I'll reply with the handle and the name of the guy. So you can definitely get in touch with them that way. But Rode are an incredible company. They've supported me for the last 8 years. They're just brilliant. And their kit, I would never use anything else. Their kit is just fantastic. It really is good for voiceover or all of the Watch Ross, the vlogs that I do. Make sure you go into YouTube, by the way, subscribing, because I'm going to pay for someone's Spotlight subscription if you subscribe and I draw you out. Just go to YouTube and search for #WatchRoss. But the microphone I use on that is a wireless mic. That's a Rode mic. The wireless kits, they're really, really good, honestly. Anyone's looking for microphones, Rode mics, absolutely the way forward, guys. They're absolutely stunning. And just the company ethos, just freaking great. They're just so supportive of up and coming talent and musicians as well, singers, that sort of stuff, actors, performers, filmmakers. Just bloody brilliant. Really, really good guys. Right, I'm all ready to end, but thank you. Appreciate you being here. On the audio experience, drop me a tweet. Let me know if you got this far. Be hilarious. Let me know if you actually got all the way through this broadcast without turning off. If I can do anything for anybody, as always, tweet me at actsonthistv, at Ross A. Grant. Got a brand new vlog coming out on Monday morning. Go to facebook.com/watchross or search for #watchross on YouTube. You can catch up on the first 5 episodes there. You'll see all behind the scenes of my acting career, voiceover career, and everything in between. And yeah, I'll be back Monday night for some more motivation and mind hacks, 9 p.m. here live. If you're on the audio experience, facebook.com/actsonthistv. Come and watch next time. Appreciate you all. Thank you so much. And I'll catch you with you soon, all right? Have a fantastic week. Get out there. Hustle. Remember, like we said on Monday, only 8 weeks of the year left. Make them count, all right? Bye for now.